Hey guys, it's Adam from Lucipixel and welcome back. Last week, I posted a video talking about how to overcome the fear of getting back into the flow of drawing after taking a long break. How to overcome the anxiety and sometimes even the fear of regaining momentum. The feedback on that video wasn't only substantial, but it was incredibly helpful and valuable to me as well, and will have a meaningful impact on how I produce my videos moving forward. A few of the comments, however, really stood out to me for different reasons. They brought up a perspective, a reality that highlighted that even well-meaning advice might be inaccessible to some, depending on the personal or social challenges that they might face. What they brought up were perspectives that our entire community needs to hear, because I'm very confident that these comments reflect the realities, the fears, the insecurities, and the challenges that many of us artists face. The first comment was from Birdstar6423. It said, quote, "It's the damned ADHD that's making me not do art. I can't even focus, and it's so hard for me to get medications. Hell, I can barely do house tasks, or even focus on short videos too. And my work has been getting so much worse at my job." Well, coming from someone well exposed to ADHD, Birdstar, living in a home with a son with both ADHD and autism, a partner with ADHD, and most likely myself living with undiagnosed ADHD, I'm well aware of how profoundly this can impact your life. I'm also aware of the uniqueness of every presentation of ADHD. I don't regard it as a spectrum. I have personally come to recognize ADHD as a personality type that can differ dramatically between different individuals. Every person with ADHD is a different lifestyle, a different reality, a different adaptation, and in some cases, it's very well hidden, in others, it's completely obvious. In Birdstar's case, it's clear that this ADHD is really starting to overshadow the quality of their life. It's overwhelming, like a noise in their ear that impedes their ability to perform even basic tasks. To add insult to injury, they're trying to actively seek help, get medication, but that appears to be a bit of an uphill battle as well. From my experience with back pain that lasted for years, when it's something that is chronic, constant, and seemingly never ending, the desperation to get help in any way is a constant preoccupation. So, I'd like to address this before moving forward with more generalized advice. When you're in emergency mode, like it seems Bird is in right now, I strongly recommend prioritizing health before adding more intellectual and emotional demand to your life. When you're in pain, which it appears Bird is in right now, then address the pain. Make that your priority. Make that your project. Focus your energy towards seeking balanced and responsible advice on how to face these challenges. And I'd like to stop to put emphasis on the word, quote, responsible. This means seeking out trained professionals, counselors, psychologists, therapists, not, quote, self-help gurus that pull you down theory rabbit holes that can do terrible harm to people in desperate need of real help. I clearly remember how much terrible and potentially dangerous advice I saw floating around online when I was educating myself on how to heal my back injury. Advice that could have easily crippled me physically if I didn't know any better. The same exact thing applies to mental health. Bad advice from untrained, quote, health influencers is quite literally a recipe for disaster. That said, focus on that first. Trying to follow career advice when you can barely focus for 10 seconds on basic daily tasks is like trying to paint your toenails in a hurricane. It's not going to happen, and even if it does, you'll end up making a terrible mess about it and doing more harm than good. However, Once that dust settles, you've gotten your mental and physical state in a good place, and you're feeling ready for growth, here comes step 2. And this advice applies equally to people living with neurodivergent lifestyles like ADHD or autism, as well as neurotypical individuals. One of the most common misconceptions people have about productivity and growth is quantity over quality. There's this false belief that growth and progress requires a high volume of work. Long hours, more is better. In fact, in many situations, too much volume can do more harm than good. Remember that artwork is a very mentally demanding endeavor. It requires technical skill, physical control, creative courage, often a great deal of planning, and intense concentration. Any practice this mentally demanding burns tons of calories, much like rock climbing, playing chess, or marathon running. There's a reason why professional chess players work out regularly, follow strict diets, rest regularly, meditate, listen to music to focus, because playing is hard on the mind and body. Chess players need to be both mentally and physically fit to perform their best. Artwork is no different. The only difference is it's far less often a competitive sport like chess, so we don't recognize the demand on our bodies. It's for this reason that I strongly recommend prioritizing consistency over intensity. Intensity is great for short bursts of demand, like powerlifting, but art careers aren't 10-second long endeavors. They're lifelong. My career alone is approaching 30 years at the time of this recording, and I've barely gotten started. I mentioned in my last video that I schedule a daily drawing routine of 30 minutes a day and use a Pomodoro timer as a means to incentivize myself to keep going until the clock chimes. Why do I use a timer? Well, because timers help you keep better track of progress and offer you a little reward at the end of an accomplished task, like crossing that yellow finish line at the end of a long race. But what you aren't seeing is the build-up to that 30 minutes. If 30 minutes feels way out of reach, particularly if you have ADHD, then set the timer for 2 minutes. I know, 2 minutes sounds ridiculous, but it actually isn't. What it's going to do is start disciplining you to follow a routine that you have set for yourself. You're creating the foundation of a habit that's going to grow faster than you think. Living up to a 2-minute commitment every day for a week starts to change the way your brain is wired. You're starting to realign your inner clock to be mentally ready at that time and respecting commitments you make to yourself. And if 2 minutes isn't challenging you at all, then make it 5, then make it 10, then 15, and so on. The important thing here isn't volume, it's consistency. And consistency is where growth happens. If you don't believe me, compare it to the alternative, doing nothing at all. Or worse yet, doing nothing and feeling awful for it, blaming yourself for being lazy or a procrastinator or a failure. None of that's going to do you any good. But being able to check off a self-created task offers the most important thing for progress and growth, the immediate reward of success and fulfillment. You'll be amazed how quickly your life starts turning around once you start accumulating 2, then 3, then 10 days of consistent growth. That said, life does happen as well, and on occasions something interferes with your ability to sit down and draw that day. Maybe you've gotten the flu or you have family responsibilities. Maybe you're just tired. In that case, I try my best to adhere to the 2-day rule. I never let myself skip 2 days unless it's absolutely unavoidable. After 2 days, you start making a habit of not showing up, which you don't want to let happen if you can avoid it. So if you feel like you're starting to skip out more than you're showing up, that might be a good sign that you're over-committing. Bring your time commitment down from 15 back to 10 or 5 or whatever for a bit. Then bring yourself back up gradually. It's important to mention at this point as well, not to feel bad for going back. I remember Levi Rosman, or Gotham Chess, mentioning once, when you start going on a bit of a losing streak and your rank starts to drop, maybe from 1100 down to 1000, down to 900, that can be a heavy blow on your ego and all of your hard work. If that happens, remember your ranking isn't 900 at that point. It's still 1100, but life sometimes knocks you back a few steps and you need to refocus and build yourself back up again. Just because you knocked yourself back to 5 minutes doesn't make you a 5-minute artist. You're still a 15-minute artist, but you needed to readjust your energy to match the fluctuations of real life. Regard every milestone as written in stone. You etched an unremovable groove into that high mark on the side of the mountain, and it's there permanently. When you climb back down and then back up again, that line that you put there will still be there because that represents your achievement, no one else's. And remember to be patient. Artistic achievement is an accomplishment of incredible self-discipline and focus. It's a master skill that requires master-level determination. So small growth is an indication of great quality. The next comment is from Nierstrunk4923. What it says is, quote, "I'll be honest, I stopped drawing after AI art became a thing. It felt pointless." And that's all he wrote. So why did I reply to him? And why did I feel this comment was important enough to discuss that I'm bringing it up again here? Well, here's the short answer that I gave him that I'm going to elaborate on today. I said, quote, "It's only pointless to those who believe that art is only about pretty image making. Art is visual communication. It's expression through an artistic medium. What you're expressing is that at this point, you haven't yet reached a level of confidence with your technical skill to express yourself visually. It isn't enough of a personal thing. Therefore, AI's ability to pump out visually strong images is overshadowing your technical weakness in drawing. I know that AI can technically do whatever it wants, but beauty isn't about being the prettiest, is it? It's more about being the most attractive. And attraction is about authenticity and confidence in self, integrity, and expression of that self in a way that highlights those beautiful aspects of your character and beliefs. Essentially, my friend, this isn't a talent thing. It's an ego thing, isn't it?" What I replied to him, what I'm going to elaborate on today, is an observation from someone who's been in the art game for a long time now. Whenever you pick up a new art form, such as drawing, or dancing, or music, or writing, or cooking, or acting, your goal is simply to learn the language of the craft, the fundamentals. Think of the fundamentals as building blocks of language, the words, the grammar, the vocabulary. At this point, you aren't expressing anything yet. You're only learning the words. With enough practice and trial and error, you'll at one point start experiencing something extremely rewarding and exciting. You'll start learning how to express yourself through this language. As your ability to express improves, you eventually start becoming capable of being creative with this form of expression. This creativity can come in the form of unique expressive terms. You might include cultural references into your language. Your language will start connecting you to a like-minded community, and you can start to create bonds with others through these commonalities. Your expression becomes an identity. And the more authentically and cleverly you can communicate these thoughts and feelings, the more of a meaningful place you find in your community. Yes, the visual beauty of your imagery can be one of the ways your artwork connects with your audience and your community. But that actually serves more as a rite of passage, a way of demonstrating your long-term commitment to the community. Well, This is what art is. It's a language, a unique language that you can master over time and commitment so you can eventually communicate in the most authentic and clever way you can. Your unique form of artistic communication, the beauty, the uniqueness, the insights that you express, the perspective that you share with your audience attracts like-minded artists. Through that commonality of artistic expression, you find your kindred spirits, the same way I feel closely connected to artists like Anthony Jones, the artists from Software, Guillermo del Toro, and many others. We share a common voice that makes us more welcomed members of a type of artistic community, the same way I feel a special bond with Montrealers who grew up in my neighborhood of NDG. NDG isn't only where I grew up, it's a deep part of my personality, my identity. So when I hear artists express, quote, "I gave up art once AI took over," what I actually hear is someone who only recognizes the visual impressiveness of AI-generated imagery. They haven't yet trained their own technical skill beyond the visual image. They haven't learned the language of art yet. They've only picked up a book and learned a few words. That's often why young artists often get irritated with seasoned professionals that don't get bent out of shape about AI and say things like, quote, "Don't give up. There's still a future for artists out there." Young artists often believe that that phrase implies that they don't have anything to worry about because they're already making bank. They're already successful and, well, it doesn't really impact them as much. But that's not generally what they mean. What they're actually saying is, quote, "Once you get skilled enough at art to recognize that the human ability to communicate incredibly complex, personal, and nuanced things that are culturally relevant will eventually initiate you into a community of like-minded artists." I went on to express that, quote, "Yes, AI art is visually impressive, maybe much more impressive than the imagery that I create, at least on a superficial level. But prettiness isn't the same thing as attractiveness. Attractiveness comes from having a strong sense of self, an integrity, a confidence in who you are, your uniqueness, the rich nuances of your complex personality, your quirks, your curves, your pimples, your bald spots, your chubbiness, your bony elbows, your crossed eyes and funny toes. It's knowing that and embracing it, working with it instead of trying to hide it. That confidence grants you the power to express yourself in a way that only you can, in a way that makes you hypnotically unique and captivating. It also makes you beautiful and alluring to others, because when people can see the deeper and more meaningful side of you, they're gifted with so many more reasons to love you and to want to be with you. That is what your art is. It's the most genuine version of you, expressed with a transparency that can be extremely frightening to express in real life. It's an abstraction of your deeper self that exposes your deepest truth, whether graphically or narratively or expressively. That's where one of my favorite expressions comes from. Quote, "Artists lie to uncover the truth." We exaggerate and abstract to dig deeper into a truth that we might not be able to express using regular human means. Less experienced artists look at the work of Ross Draws, for instance, and think that he's popular because he's better, because his drawings are prettier. No. The reason his images are pretty is because he has a beautiful soul, and his artwork is a deeper expression of that beauty that resides inside him. A beauty that he feared for many years could have gotten him hurt had he expressed it publicly. But not through his art. He could be as free and expressive as he wanted, without judgment, without threat. Art grants us the power to express our truest selves in a way that doesn't offend or cause damage. It's accepted as an expression outside of the real world. If all Ross desired was to make things pretty for the sake of being pretty, Nobody would connect with his work because it would be a facade, not an expression of deeper truth. But we love Ross's artwork because we love him. His art is as lovable as his deeper self. So realize that when you fear AI, all you're fearing is the image, not the art. AI image generation is nothing but an amalgamation of pretty things slapped together meaninglessly. An abomination. There's no deeper expression, there's no deeper meaning, there's no extension of the humanity and the culture and the unique language of the individual. It's just a sharp-looking image. AI imagery isn't more attractive than your art, it's just technically, quote, prettier. But prettiness doesn't deserve true love, does it? No. You do. And that's why I always end my art talks by saying, I love you all with all my heart and happy painting. Take care.